Jamal Adams. He ended up becoming a Seattle Seahawk, right? And, I just I wanted to look through all of the statistics and prove my point as to why the 49ers made a good decision in not trading for this guy.
Okay.
The first one would be 2 firsts, a third, and Bradley McDougall. For all the people out there, this is another statistic I want to spit to you. Bradley McDougall, he had more tackles. Bradley McDougall, he had more interceptions. Bradley McDougall also allowed less receptions. Adams allowed 28 receptions last year. Bradley McDougall allowed 20 receptions, right? Forced fumbles, Adams had 1 more than Bradley McDougall. And, fumble recoveries, they both had the same. The only thing that Adams was better than Bradley McDougall in was sacks. He had 6.5. Bradley McDougall had 1. So they gave up a lot to get this guy. They gave up a tremendous amount, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about as to why the 49ers made a good decision. That's just one part of them making a bad decision because they gave up a whole hell of a lot, right?
Yep.
What do you think about how much they gave up, Grant? Like, how do you feel about that, bro?
Well, it's a lot. But the way I look at it from the Seahawks perspective is, first of all, they don't care about first-round picks. They've never built their team around first-round picks. And I'll put it this way. Name 3 first-round picks on their roster right now. Because I can't off the top. It's like Bruce Irvin. It's really, they don't do it that way. And it's partly because they're always picking in the late 20s anyway.
Right.
And that's hard to pick there. You're never going to get a player like, it's hard to get a player like Jamal Adams there. And they're just not good at drafting. I mean, they took Rashad Penny. They take bad players in the first round. So if they know that about themselves, trade 2 and get back a player like Adams that you're never going to get. I think he's the best player they've added since Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor 10 years ago. They haven't added a player like this in a long, long time. It kind of reminds me of when they added Marshawn Lynch. Just a perfect fit for the identity of their team. He instantly becomes the leader of the secondary, and the way that he plays fits in. So it's a lot, but when you factor in that there may not even be a college football season, they're trying, but it's possible there'll be no games this year. We don't really know what's going to happen with the pandemic. And if that happens, then the draft in 2021 becomes ugly because you're basing your picks on tape from 2 and 3 years ago. So there's going to be a lot of busts and bad picks.
Right.
So maybe you're feeling like, well, I don't know even what the value of these picks are right now. And then finally, I think the Seahawks realize that their window shuts after this season.
It's over.
I think they know it.
It's over.
So I think they're going all in because with any team that has an expensive quarterback is really screwed in 2021 when the cap goes down. Because all these teams signed quarterbacks expecting that it would go up. He's going to be making $32 million in 2021.
I thought it was 37.
37 in 2022 and then 39 in 2023. Meaning it's over for them. And they know it. So they're going all in right now, and I respect that because they definitely got better now. And one more thing, it's not just about the cap. I think it's also about the Cardinals. The Cardinals might own this division in 2021 and 2022 because they're the one team in this division with a cheap quarterback. If Kyler Murray is as good as Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes and takes that kind of a leap, well, it's going to be tough to compete with them because they've also loaded up their – I don't think they're ready yet, but in a year they might be the team. So I understand the Seahawks being like, we got to make one more run right now or else it could be a while.
So I have to rebuttal that. This is
okay.
So with the first round picks, right? What does Seattle always do with their first round picks?
Trade down.
They trade down and they get a second or third.
They get more,
right?
And they get more.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yep.
They're not going to be able to do this that season. They're not going to be able to do that next season, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're already screwed for 2 seasons. You're not going to be able to trade your first round asset and get a second or third round pick because that's really what it's worth. You get maybe a mid-level second and you're going to get a low-level third, which you're still going to get some pretty good players. So they're screwed in that aspect, right? Then you also have to look at this. Jamal Adams, from what I've heard, is a very boisterous leader, right? That's not Russell Wilson's style. I hope you don't come into Seattle thinking that you're going to be this leader and you're going to be outspoken because they'll do your ass like Earl Thomas and they'll get you up out of there. You know what I mean? Also, what I have to say is he just doesn't seem to have the personality to be a leader. Like, for instance, yesterday, right? He said, I'm going to give my all to the 12. I'm going to be the best leader I can possibly be. I retweeted him and I said, Jamal, how are you going to be the best leader that you're possibly going to be when you just did an interview with the New York Daily News throwing your general manager, your head coach, and the whole damn organization under the bus a couple of days before you're supposed to report to training camp. That's not good leadership ability to me, right? So Jamal's one of those guys who seems like he contradicts himself over and over again. You know what I mean? And I'm just happy he's up there. You know what I'm saying? More power to him. And we'll see what happens. But I think they screwed this up, bro.
The way I look at it,
they look like the Rams.
If there's one coach who can actually get the most out of players like Jamal Adams, it's Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll allows players like that to be who they are. And you just compared the Seahawks to the Rams. I see that because the parallel is the trade for Jalen Ramsey. And what I would say is the reason the Rams took a step back last year is not because of their draft picks. It is not because of Jalen Ramsey. It's because of Jared Goff. They're paying $30-something million a year to a quarterback who's not good. And they're screwed because of that. Yeah. The Seahawks are in a similar spot because they're paying too much for a quarterback, but they have Russell Wilson. He's the best or right up there. And he gives them a chance to win every game, even though they're really not that great of a team. They're in every single game. And usually if they win, it's close. But that's another reason I like Jamal Adams for this team. If you know you're in close games, he's the kind of playmaker, and I consider him a playmaker, 12 career sacks, 6 career forced fumbles in 3 seasons, that can swing a game with one play. And you want guys like that. Yeah. So to me, look, they may have screwed their future. I don't even think that they had a future. I don't think they did. And I'm not sure that the Niners do too. We can talk about them later because they have an expensive quarterback too. And this salary cap coming down just screws a lot of teams. And you have other teams that you were listing too. But if you know you're in win now mode, look, they got better. Right. They gave themselves a better chance to win the Super Bowl this season. And if they win it, they're not going to be complaining about the next 3 years. And I respect that about pro teams because as Herm Edwards almost said, you play to win the Super Bowl. You don't play to be 10-6 every year. You play to go for it. And I respect that the Rams went for it. The reason that they have fallen back is because they paid the wrong quarterback, period. Yeah. And they're always going to be affected by that.
Yeah. And I feel like what they did was they put a Band-Aid on a leaking vein, right? Like we already know or let's say an artery, right? They're bleeding out, right? They're going for the gusto because they're bleeding out.
Win now.
Look at this. Is it. Yep. Yeah, Ash Cash, I can't pronounce his last name. Excuse me, guys, but he put out a rating talking about the defensive lines of the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. San Francisco 49ers was second in sack rating. You know what? You know what Seattle was? 30th.
No, I believe it. They had a terrible pass.
Seattle Seahawks, their starting defensive line has a combined 11 sacks and 72 pressures. You know how many pressures Nick Bosa had? 102.
102. Well, look. Jaron Reed.
Is he going to rush the passer? Is he going to block for Russell Wilson? Adams.
Well, Adams did have 6.5 sacks last year. So he actually had more sacks than Clowney. Jaron Reed had a terrific season. I think he had 10 sacks in 2018, but then he was suspended for the first 10 games and never really seemed like he was in shape last year. Jaron Reed.
Yeah, PEDs.
Yeah, it's PEDs. And then Bruce Irvin, who they drafted and then bounced around the league, actually had 8.5 sacks as a rotational rusher with the Panthers last year. They got him. He's not a game changer, but I still feel like they've improved. I think that's the most important thing. They know that they're going for one more shot. They know they're not going to be that good in 2021. They've given themselves a better chance to win the Super Bowl this season. I don't think they will, but I think they basically have as good of a chance or a better chance than the 49ers. So it's a pretty good chance. I do. Because look, the Seahawks, you can get caught up in looking at their D-line or their offensive line and be like, they have a weakness here, they have a weakness there. But when you look at the totality of what they do, they're always in the game late, no matter who they're playing. Good team, bad team. They're usually in the game late because of their coach and their quarterback. So if that's their formula, now they have another guy who can really win games.
But Grant, we have to be realistic about this, bro. When Seattle was at their best, they had one of the best defensive lines and offensive lines in the game. They had Russell Okung, they had J.R. Sweezy, and when he was a Pro Bowler, let's be honest,
they do. And Russell Wilson was making like $400,000 a year. No, they had a serious team, and it's not like that anymore. Right. But I still think that before I had it Tampa, New Orleans, San Francisco, Seattle. Now I have it Tampa, New Orleans, Seattle, San Francisco. But those 4 teams are all in the same tier. They're all elite teams. Straight up elite teams.
We haven't even seen Tampa play. We know that Bruce Arians like to air the ball out. Brady can't air the ball out. I guarantee you Brady throws 15 interceptions this year. I guarantee you. Bro, he threw 30.
You're forgetting that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have Tom Moore, who is the senior offensive assistant, who is Peyton Manning's offensive coordinator. They're going to know how to handle Tom Brady. No problem.
What wide receiver do they have that's a yards after catch guy? Meaning I can catch the ball and make you miss.
Chris Godwin.
One.
Okay, well, we don't need to. Okay, anyway, we're talking about the Seahawks.
All right, yeah.
Let's just focus, instead of talking about if they're screwed for the future, because I think we both agree that they have no future. This is it for them.
Right.
What we need to discuss is how much better did this trade really make them?